Very good morning to you. Thank you for staying with us here on Global Television. And this is how we say welcome to Global Morning, the first for the working week, of course, the week following the Salah break. It's a great Monday, no doubt about that. Promising week by extension. And as always, we're delighted to know you're starting the working week with us here on the program. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe, and we are live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Last week was eventful in quite a number of ways, on many fronts than one. Whether you were talking about the issue of insecurity, particularly as it has to do with the abduction in two locations across one local government in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, or the primaries of a handful of political parties, especially on the opposition front, or you were talking about issues regarding the 2027 general elections overall. It was quite a week, and the bulk of the events from last week will form the thrust of our conversation on the program this morning. All else equal, my colleague Priscilla Obasi, who is being held back a bit on account of an act of God, so to speak, will be with me on the program as always. Again, it's a Monday. Hope your working week is starting out on a good foot. And we hope that you make the most of it. Just get your game on, as they say. Mind your business, drink a lot of water. But more importantly, be sure that you have a guide, more like a set of goals to help you go through the week and win against all odds. Incidentally, just yesterday, we heard that President Bola Tinubu is now deploying 1,000 guards, all right, to Oyo State, especially to those areas where we understand this insecurity phenomenon has impacted very drastically. The idea is not only to provide, if you like, cover, right, for those areas across the state, but it's also to help accelerate the efforts to ensure that those who have been kidnapped, or if you like, abducted across the state, return safely. It's quite an interesting time for not just the federal government, not just the military, not just the police, but it's the same sort of reality for the state governments under the leadership of Governor Seyi Makinde, who is in the middle of elections. Elections in the sense that while he's not standing for re-election as governor in Oyo State in 2027, evidently, because by May 29th next year, his second term would have cycled out. He is standing for the office of the president, right? Plus, as is always the case, especially with Nigerian politics, he's also very keen on who succeeds him regarding the seat of governor in that state. So that's already more than a handful for him. And now he has the insecurity issue to grapple with as well. This last weekend, the governor did say that the fact that he doesn't have control over the military, the police, and indeed the security architecture as we know it is concentrated in the hands of the federal government, makes it much more difficult for him to be able to address all of these issues. And that's where the problem lies, essentially, because to whom much is given, much is expected, and uneasy, they say, is the head that wears the crown. As it stands right now, it is, for whatever it's worth, the chief security officer of the state. So it's only natural that this, if you like, magnitude of pressure would naturally fall on him. But we do hope, beyond all of the rhetorics, that these pupils, these teachers, and by the way, one of the teachers, we understand, got beheaded a while ago. Sad story. I mean, something that just sends jitters down your spine. Right, but we do hope that those who are still in captivity, including 1 2-year-old child, for example, are allowed to go, whether unconditionally, by whatever means, just to ensure that these people are able to return to their homes and begin to explore the possibility of returning to life as usual, or the normal life as we know it, because this is more than trauma for them, and is quite an apt reminder that the government is lagging in terms of fighting insecurity. Especially, as some people have said, why would politicians, especially the ruling party, the APC, be talking primaries, be talking 2027 be politicking all over the place when we have this magnitude of issue on the ground across the states, especially the most recent one, which is in Oyo. And again, because it is the primary responsibility of government to protect or guarantee the protection of life and property, that conversation is not going away anytime soon. Therefore, the area government realizes that, comes to terms with that, the better for not just this government, but every other administration. At this point in time, we are not so sure what the ranking or the rating of President Bola Tinubu's administration will be, particularly from the standpoint of insecurity, given this spate of kidnappings and killings that we're seeing across the country. I mean, come to think of it for a second, states like Ekiti, Ogun, Osun, even Oyo, for example, had been largely peaceful. At what point did we miss it? What is that broken link that has created this level of vulnerability? Nobody is providing answers to those questions. And who is also providing answers to the questions around whether or not we're getting value for all of the monies, taxpayers' monies, that is, that we continue to plow into the military, into issues, if you like, projects and initiatives around defense and what have you. These are questions that are screaming for answer. But above all, government will continue to be in the spotlight for issues around insecurity beyond the economy, because people have to be alive to even know whether the economy is working or not. So that's also a part of our conversation this morning. Of course, there's politics as always, because as it stands today, Peter Obi has emerged the presidential candidate of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, that is the NDC, and of course, his friend and political brother, so to say, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State, is his running mate. So that's one pair, as it were, on one platform of the opposition side of things. Of course, if you go to the ADC, you have former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the candidate, the presidential candidate, that is, of that party, who, again, we saw just a few days ago in the week that was, reaching out to those who have contested that ticket with him, beginning with former Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Chubike-Amechi, and then to Mohammed Ayatuddin, businessman and philanthropist, who also had his eye on that ticket, and by extension, the seat of power, which is the presidency. So apparently his goal is to rally the support of these gentlemen going into the election. That's for the ADC. And then you have other political parties like the Labour Party that has also now said that, look, it has unanimously adopted Dr. Chibuzo Okereke, one of our very brilliant guests here on the program, an academic, a researcher, and a legislative policy expert, to be its presidential candidate. That's what, I mean, that much is understandable, because Peter Obi had left the party a while ago, and they say life does not allow for vacuum. So we can understand why that is the case right now. We also understand that Ashim Olawebo, who had been a chieftain of the PDP this entire time, has also now clinched the presidential ticket of the Accord Party, where you have the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, who is also running for a second term, using the Accord Party platform as a special purpose vehicle of some kind to achieve that ambition. So we have all of this happening across the political landscape in our country. On the program today, one of our objectives is to help make sense of all of these and make you understand where things are heading within our political space. In the meantime, who says we can't talk about breakfast right now? Because the Monday, as they say, you've got to have something in your tummy. Yes, we know by principle or lifestyle choice, there are people who do not have breakfast this early. But the goal is not to make you eat now. The idea is to ensure that you have, some sort of ideas you can play with in your head when it matters for you to have breakfast. And here is taste and texture. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic,
every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. I am your chef for today, Saadatu Garba. Today we're going to prepare an easy Nigerian delicacy and we will be breaking down the entire process. In this episode of the program, we will be preparing oatmeal with fruits. Oatmeal is always a delicious and simple breakfast option. This one is a recipe that is filling, delicious and nutritious, especially when taken with fruits. Also, this breakfast oatmeal can be made in under 5 minutes by anyone. In addition to the speed and ease of making it, it is also fun to make. Main supplies: raw oats, milk, sugar or honey, water, banana, coconut chips, apple, cashew nuts. Step 1. Place a clean pot on the stove and add enough water to cook the oats. Step 2. Bring your water to a boil and add the oats while stirring gently to avoid lumps and burning. Add more water if the oats is too thick to the consistency you prefer. Step 3. When your oats is cooked, add honey or sugar, then add your milk and mix properly. Step 4. Dish your prepared oats into a bowl. Step 5. Dice your apple into small bits. Peel and slice your bananas, then add into your bowl of oats. That's it. Your oatmeal breakfast is done and ready for consumption. Now it's all yours to enjoy. That's it on today's episode of the program Taste and Texture. Hope you will try this recipe in your various homes and hope you enjoyed the program. Join me same time next week for another episode of the program. I am Saadatu Garba. Thank you for watching and I'll be catching you on the next exciting meal.
And that's your oats there. Not very traditional or conventional, but looks great. Who knows? As they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Personally, I've not had oats for quite a long time, for several years. Maybe this is just a spark, my sign, as they say, right? To try once again and just relish that amazing taste of it. You can do the same, right? Thank you to the team that puts this together for us every other day, especially Monday through Friday. All right, we're going to look at quite a number of issues again today. We're hearing that in Oyo State, the Nigeria Union of Teachers, NUT, is now telling teachers in primary and secondary schools to down tools, in other words, to embark on an industrial action, apparently on account of the abduction of pupils and teachers in the state. So this again is complicating a situation that is already very, very bad. So if that happens, it means schools will be shut down, elementary and secondary, and then the question is, where does that leave the state of education in Oyo? So that state, as it stands right now, is not in a good place. We need more prayers. We need to put in the work. Government must take responsibility, and we must also see that those who are responsible, one way or another, directly or indirectly, for this very obnoxious act, these evil acts in that state are brought to book as quickly as possible, because you can't continue to normalize things that are evil, such as we are saying right now. Okay, the goal of the program is not to leave you feeling downcast. It's just to let you know exactly what's going on in our dear country and what their implications are. And most importantly, what we can do as a government and as a people to play our parts in good enough time. Now, time to elevate your spirits. Little and Ramsey Enoch Agbo is standing by with Heart to Heart Inspirational.
Hello and welcome to another moment of Heart to Heart Inspirational. Let's talk heart to heart a little bit, because a lot of people have not been able to bounce back after the last time they failed. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Welcome to Heart Inspirationals. Failure is a feedback and not a funeral. I want to say that again, because of people who failed. Some people fell and they remain on the ground. They never got up again because of what they feel people around them are going to say. But then failure is a feedback. And that's why some people tell you all the time that whatever happens, all right, there is a lecture from every lesson. You know, whatever happens to you in life, there is something that you are meant to learn from it, either positively or negative thing that you need to take cognizance of and be watchful as you move on the journey of life. So I just want to tell you today that failure is a feedback and not a funeral. What kind of feedback did you get from that last failure? Have you even tried anything at all? Have you experienced failure before? If you've not experienced failure before, it means you need to try harder, because on this journey of destiny, people who are successful today are people who have failed a number of times and they got up on their feet, learned from their mistake, and their mistake became a stepping stone for them. And of course, they are where they are today. Why? Because they never allow that failure to become a funeral to their dream. What am I emphasizing? As a matter of fact, let's normalize something today, all right? Let's normalize something today. A failure, you've heard about it all the time. Okay, this person is a failure, that person is a failure. You know, people assess their counterparts, their neighbors, their brothers, their colleagues differently with different perspectives. Some persons already have been tagged as failure, and that has been affecting a lot of people. But then, have you accepted that you are a failure? That somebody told you you are a failure does not make you a failure until you accept that you are a failure. All right, not because it feels good, yeah, but because it is necessary. Sometimes, you know, it's risk. It's risk. If you have taken a risk before, and of course, it didn't go well the way you think it was going to go, and you failed, it doesn't mean that is a funeral. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again. I was speaking with someone a few days ago, yeah, and we're talking about a particular business, and the young man told me, now I am successful. But then, during my wilderness experience, when I was in the workshop, nobody knew anything about me. When I was failing over and over and over again, I lost money several times. I had to stay indoors and think of the next thing to do. He failed severally until he said, no, I am not going to allow this failure become a funeral. My dream is not going to be cut short by this failure. And he stood on his ground. Consistency. I must always emphasize consistency anytime I come up to speak to anyone on Heart to Heart, because it is very important. If you want to succeed in life, then consistency and discipline is very important. But the bottom line is this: nobody ever succeeds without first stumbling. Yes. You stumble, then you stand again. Even every little child, before a child starts walking, you stand them up, you see them, they walk a little bit, they fall. They walk a little bit, they fall until their leg gets stable on the ground. All right, and you see them walking firmly. Then before you know it, they start running. The same thing is applicable to life. So failure, as a matter of fact, is not proof that you can't. All right, it's not a proof that you can't do it. It's proof that you tried. It's a proof that you tried. When you fail, it means you tried and you failed. It doesn't mean that's the end. It reveals what doesn't work and refine what eventually would work later. That's what failure does. Anytime you fail, you know that, yes, this one does not work. Let me try the other one. It gives you a focus. It makes you know that, yes, if I go this way, I'm going to fail again, so I need to do something else. It's only a fool that do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. If you are doing one thing the same way all the time, you get the same result. You need to apply technicality, strategy, discipline, excellence every time. Whatever you do, let that touch of excellence be in your head, all right? So that when you fail in one thing, you try doing it the other way. But then don't allow that first, second, third, fourth failure be your funeral. Let your dream and your vision and your talent not be buried because you failed. Because that failure is trying to refine you. It's trying to build something in you. What do you have to do? I want you to know that failure, what it does is that it reveals what doesn't work and refines what eventually will work. But you need to have this mentality. Every setback is information. If you are willing to learn, yes, that's what it means. Every setback that you've had in the past is an information. Because there is something you need to learn from every setback, from every failure. Everyone throwing stones at you right now is because they know you are going somewhere. Let me tell you the truth. We have a lot of friendly enemies these days. Some people are smiling with you, but then they are not interested in your success. What they say behind you, if you hear it, hey, but then that shouldn't deter you. That shouldn't deter you because you have a destination. So every setback is information if you are willing to learn, because most people don't fail because they are incapable. That you failed, it's not because you are incapable, but because you are going somewhere, because you are dogged, because you are rugged, because you are determined, because you are focused, because you have a dream, you have a vision, something you are pursuing and something you want to get. You have a target. So when people like that fail, they fail because they don't stop. But if you stop anytime soon, it means that failure has gotten to you. Let me give you an illustration. For instance, a GPS recalculates when you miss a turn. It doesn't shut down. All right? Failure, in other words, simply means it's time to adjust. Anytime you fail, the message is, no, I need to adjust. This principle, this procedure, this formula is not working. I need to adjust. There is something I need to do so that I don't fail again. That's what it means. Anytime you fail, there is a message. It is telling you it is time to adjust the procedure. It is time to re-strategize. That's what it means. All right, so you don't need to abandon your journey because you failed. There is a practical mindset shift that you need to have, and this is it. Number one, stop attaching shame to failure. Yes, stop attaching shame to failure. Some people, when they fail, they feel shy. Oh no, I'm not going to get on that stage again. They will laugh at me. No, I'm not going to do that business again. People will laugh at me. People will mock me. The same people will celebrate and want to identify with you if you are a success. So there should be a mindset and a mind shift for you. Extra lessons instead of self-criticism. Stop criticizing yourself because you failed. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people with other people because you failed. That you failed. Failure is not a funeral. Stop burying yourself in shame and criticism. Try again. Make it better. Make it wiser. Make it stronger. That's what it means. All right? Failure is tuition paid for future success. That is a quote that I'm bringing to you now. Failure, I said, is what? Is tuition paid for future success. But if you don't pay, if you go to school now, all right, 100 level, you need to pay a tuition in 100 level. You get to 200, you pay another tuition before you can get to 300 level. In every of this level, there are tuitions to pay. If you want to change levels in life, don't be scared of failure. If you are scared of failure, you will never try anything good. So what you have to do? Keep pushing. Don't bury your dream because of one mistake that you made. I'll keep saying this. Learn, rise, and move forward. Don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about the situation around you. Don't think, oh, I have failed, I don't need to try it again. Keep trying. Change the strategy. Become wiser. Failure make you wiser. Because you walk through this way and you fail, you apply this strategy, this technique, this principle, this formula, and you failed. You will now need to re-strategize. Use another formula. All right? Until you get to your success. Until you get to what you want to achieve in life. All right? So you need to know that anytime you fail, it's a signal that you need to turn. You need to do something again. You need to re-strategize. You need to improvise. Come up with something new. As a matter of fact, failure is not the best option for you. So what you have to do? Try as much as possible, right, to be sincere in everything that you do. Because if you want to please people, it will be disastrous. You don't need to please anyone, all right? You don't need to please anyone. It is when you're thinking about pleasing people that when you stumble, you say, oh, I've disappointed this person. I've disappointed even people who really love you, who want you to be successful. By the time you fail, instead of them condemning you, they will come and encourage you to do better. And that's the reason you need mentors. That's the reason you need people to talk to per time. All right? You need to talk to people. See, if you are embarking on a project, I emphasize mentorship all the time. I was speaking with a friend a few days ago and I told the person, if I want to do this thing you're doing now, it is going to be express for me. It's going to be easier. I may have hitches. There might be some times where you have losses or maybe failure at some point, but then you have people to ask questions. I have someone to ask questions. Hey, I got hooked here. What do I do? Even the disaster is not going to be as disastrous as it would have been if you never have anyone to guide you on this journey of destiny. You really need people, okay? Because as your association determine your acceleration in life, okay? And your friends, you need to be careful with the kind of friends you have. If you have a bad friend, it is disaster. If you have a good friend, it means you have a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to stand on and be tall so that you can get to that success that you are running after, that you are pursuing. Yes, congratulations, everyone. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anything stop you on the way. Not failure, not criticism. Don't bury yourself because you failed. Failure is not funeral. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful day.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Yes, so very elevating. Thank you so very much, Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Now time to turn to newspapers for you. Let's bring you headlines, beginning with the Guardian newspaper on the program this morning. Top right corner with a picture of former President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. He says Turaki led PDP to ratify Jonathan's presidential nomination bid on the Guardian newspaper. That will be on page 9. Yes, that's where you have those details this morning. Next one says coalition estimates 19,980 killings, 12,362 abductions in 3 years. That must be an extensive read, which details you can find on page 4. 2027, we must unite to rescue Nigeria, Atiku tells ADC aspirants. Incidentally, that headline has a picture of the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. We have the star headline here. Says Tinubu defense reforms as critics decry hardship insecurity. On page 6 is where you would find those details. So please, now you have a reason to read up the Guardian newspaper today and then find details for yourself, right? What more do we have? Next paper is the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust, a handful of headlines here and there, maybe not more than 2 really. Then, of course, we'll begin with the one that is top right. Why court is in favor of DSS operatives in defamatory suits against Serap. You can read up that explainer, as I'd like to call it, on page 18. It has a picture of the Director General of the Department of State Services. How General Rabi wife were ambushed, abducted in Katsina. Details of the sad story of that abduction on pages 4 and 5. Most of the papers this morning have advertorial on their front pages. The Daily Trust is no exception. So the headlines on the front page this morning for the Daily Trust are limited to just 2. However, that is no reason to not read up details and stay ahead of this information and misinformation as we move to our next paper this morning, which is the Daily Times. Yes, the Daily Times newspaper has 3 headlines basically, but the big one is what we're focused on. Says the Daily Times at 100, a century of shaping Nigeria's story. Yes, you can see the pictures on the front page. As I say, a picture can tell 1,000 stories, or even better. Not much on the Daily Times apparently, but it's a different ballgame on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, right? When you look at the Punch, top right there, it says banks, bad loans rise after CBN ends forbearance. So what happens now? Details are on page 30. All right, so how do you deal with bad loans, especially at this point in time when that forbearance window put in place by the CBN has closed, so to say? Then the big one tells us, Oyo abduction, NUT strike begins as Tinubu sends 1,000 forest guards. The headline has one rider with it. It says teachers to hold nationwide rally, shut Oyo schools. NSA IG visit troubled Oyo communities. Let's look at two headlines just on the right corner of the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. It says Labour rejects 100,000 naira minimum wage proposal. U.S. commits $3.5 million to monitor Nigeria's religious violence. They say put your money where your mouth is. So how important is this initiative or project for the United States? I'm sure perspectives await you on page 8 of today's issue of the Punch newspaper. So much for the Punch, but please, you owe yourself the duty of care to read up details of those few headlines this morning. Let's now move things up a little. The Daily Sun. Yes, the Daily Sun has, I think, two headlines. That's our next port of call. It says, Oyo abduction. That was the kicker. Tinubu approves 1,000 forest guards, deploys special rescue team. So what does the rider tell us? Rider says kidnapped principal's husband weeps, begs Makinde to bring victims home. On pages 4 and 8. These are stories, just headlines you look at and you can feel goosebumps all over your skin, sad as it is. And then there is one more here on the front page of the Daily Sun still. Atiku shops for VP candidates in Southeast, South. Court to hear Nafiu Bala's case against Mark Regbe Shola. These details are on page 6. And just to step on our brakes for a second and look at some of these issues. Yes, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has now clinched the presidential ticket of the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, but then the man hasn't got a running mate just yet. Some people say, well, again, that's some sort of theory. There's a chance he would tap former River State Governor Rotimi Amechi, who was first runner-up just during their presidential primary, to be his running mate. But Amechi had also said, whether with tongue-in-cheek or sincerely so, just before the primaries of his party, the ADC, that he was not out in the race to become running mate to anybody, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. But the question is, has the atmosphere changed? All right, are the dynamics still the same? Is it possible that the former VP would be able to persuade Rotimi Amechi otherwise to stand behind him, so to speak, going into the election, or would you rather go pick another gentleman? Recall that in 2023, it was former Delta State Governor talking about Senator Dr. Arthur Ifeanyi, who was his running mate. Of course, that was on the platform of the PDP, but now, as they say, things ain't the same. The former governor of Delta State is in the APC now, where he has clenched the tickets of that party to stand for election as senator representing Delta North, something that is not a new terrain for him. He had been there before he became governor of Delta State in 2015. So for the former vice president, on the other hand, who is now in the ADC, holding very prestigiously, as we see, the presidential ticket of the party, who might he pick from the Southeast or from the South? Now, it's also instructive to recall that going into 2023 general election, the former vice president has said that he, Atiku Abubakar, was the fastest route to an Igbo presidency. Is that still his thinking today, 3 years down the line? Well, we wait to see how all of this pans out going forward. Those are your headlines from the Daily Sun newspaper this morning. Please read up details. Politics can be tricky, so you don't speculate or assume. Rather, you can have context and perspective. Let's now take it to the next one, and this time it happens to be the Nation newspaper, where again, not much of headlines, but as I say, half bread is better than none, right? We begin with one here immediately beneath the main plate. It says, Flutterwave promotes over 100 employees, launches global relief package. The big one, the Star headline tells us, APC, ADC, others begin post-primary fence mending. Yes, that's what most political parties do, especially the ruling party at a time such as this. A party to submit candidates list from June 27 as INEC sticks to timetable. Olawekbo Ashim is Accord standard bearer. I mentioned that at the top of the program this morning, by the way. Oyo kidnap 1,000 forest guards to join search. Government delegation visits community. Teachers begin strike. And that strike, by the way, kicks in today. And it's not a very good place, quite frankly. It just goes to show the extent to which this insecurity challenge is adversely impacting our education sector, and Oyo State, sadly so, is the most recent reminder of that bitter reality. Right? Go read the details from the Nation newspaper this morning, everyone. But we'll take our time now to look at other front pages for you. Next is the Blueprints newspaper. There's a headline above the name masts that we need to see for you here. It says, Wiki declares amnesty for Rivers political adversaries. Is that novel? Maybe you never heard this term. Normally what you hear at this point in time most often is to say we are reaching out to an olive branch, right? Let's have something inclusive. We can all come together, move our state forward, move the country forward, and things like that. But now, the FCC minister himself, a former governor of Rivers State, now says that he's declaring amnesty for his political rivals in that state. We keep an eye out for you and see how this is going to play out. All right. There's a bit of sports for you as well. Top right corner says friendly Super Eagles off to Poland. Then there's a headline with a picture of Governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. He says, Igbo need Nigerians, not Biafra agitation, Soludo tells Southeast. All right. Then the big one says, with Kika, Oyo school abduction, Tinubu deploys tactical rescue team, 1,000 forest guards with 2 riders coming with that story. Delegates NSA, IGP, Defense Minister Bajabia Mila, others to kidnap sport. Makinde urges cooperation, APC kicks. All right, you can read all those details from today's issue of the Blueprint newspaper. On the left corner, we have just one headline there. It says, maintenance bills straining Ilorin Central Mosque, BOT cries out. ADC crisis court to hear Bala Gombe's suit against Mark Aregbesola Wednesday. Federal government targets 37,000 women, youth in livestock empowerment scheme. Nigeria's forex reserves climbed to $49.34 billion. Equities gained 431 billion naira despite weak markets breadth. And on the fruits of the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, it says NDLEA uncovers illicit drugs hidden in water purifiers from Europe. Incidentally, Global TV brought you that story in detail yesterday. Quite an interesting one. Just again, reminding us of the evolution of drug trafficking across the world. Nigeria, very sadly, not being an exception. So those are your headlines from the Blueprint. Please details and be sure that you have some perspective. That way you avoid disinformation and misinformation. Let's take a look at the few headlines from the New Telegraph at this point for you. Let's see what they say here. Above the nameplate, it says federal workers threaten nationwide strike over insecurity wages. Rejects governor's 1,000 or 100,000 naira consideration, insists on 1 million naira. All right, it has 2 other riders, 3 actually, that you can look at. Pages 5 and 6 are where you can read up details for yourself. UAE relaxes visa restrictions on Nigeria. Trade hits $5 billion. You know, the president was there a while ago and those engagements did move the pin, as we're seeing right now. All right. Ex-political allies, foes set for battle as 2027 presidential candidates emerge. Details on pages 9, 10, and 11. Q1 2026, that's first quarter of 2026, financial sector impetus to GDP up 8.5% to 1.93 trillion naira. Basically, those are your headlines from the New Telegraph newspaper today. A lot more to come, but we'll now begin this other lap with the Nigerian News Direct, which is also scanty regarding availability of headlines this morning. Top left first, former governor of Osun State, now Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, talking about Oyetola. All right, he's here with his picture. Says why reconciliation between Oyetola or Mishori fell through. Both gentlemen actually have their pictures here. Consumer credit grows by 51% as personal loans hit 1.96 trillion naira. Islamic cleric famous for identifying witches murdered in Kwara community. Disturbing details are on page 22 of today's issue of the Nigerian News Direct. On your school abduction, Tinubu approves 1,000 forest guards, deploys special rescue team. So much for headlines from the Nigerian News Direct this morning. Let's run with this as we now take a look at the Daily Independent newspaper for you, which happens to be relatively replete with headlines this morning. The Daily Independent newspaper. All right, top right corner of it, on the Daily Independent newspaper, it says Tinubu okays 1,000 forest guards for Oyo after school abductions. Deploys specialized security units to rescue pupils, teachers. World Economic Forum warns of new inflation shock for Nigeria, others. Tax hikes, rising costs drive decline in Nigeria's air travel. Court hears suit seeking to oust the mark as ADC chair June 3rd. That's on Wednesday. On page 29 is where you have details. Serap urges UN chief to invoke Article 99 over Nigeria's security crisis. What does that even mean? Well, find out on page 6 of the Daily Independent newspaper. IGP warns against indiscriminate sharing of sharing, I should say, police videos. IGP warns against indiscriminate sharing of police videos. What are the guidelines for sharing police videos? Well, page 6 has those details. APC primaries, Tinubu intervenes to resolve nationwide crisis. Orders suspension of planned protests by Iyaloja General. Lagos APC will follow national leadership's directives. Ojelabi is the one there talking. Federal government's economic reforms yet to fully impact businesses. That's according to the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA. On page 7, you can find those details on the Daily Independent this morning. Let's now go look at one of our last 3 papers, this time the Nigerian Tribune. All right, what does the Nigerian Tribune say at the top with a picture of former Premier Obafemi Awolowo? It says Obafemi Awolowo Future Leaders Fellowship Program opens applications across Africa diaspora. And then here it says front page comments, the Oyo terror attack. The Star headline says with a kicker, Oyo abduction, Tinubu approves recruitment of 1,000 forest guards. Deploys, these are writers now, deploys special rescue team. Says here, Chief of Staff, NSA, IGP, Defense Minister, others visits community. NUT declares strike in Oyo, holds nationwide solidarity rallies today. Makinde cautions against protests, says public demonstrations could embolden kidnappers. Quite sad, but also such a dilemma. Bottom right of the front page, Gbenga Hashim emerges a Accord Party presidential candidate. NNPC generates 5 trillion naira revenue as crude oil output hits 1.68 million barrels per day. Those details are on page 5. And then let's bring you some health too. It says cancer jab can eradicate entire tumors in patients. Trial shows on page 4. It appears from what we're hearing the last couple of weeks now. There's some, hope, right? Things are looking up for the challenge of cancer across the world. Those are your headlines from the Nigerian Tribune. Let's go take a look at our penultimate paper this morning. That is the Vanguard newspaper for you. What does it say on the front page? Says here, education, medical, tourism drive foreign travel spending to $6 billion. The three writers say education-related travel gulps $2.84 billion. Foreign airlines dominate travel tickets. It highlights systemic failures, that's according to experts, all right? Then we have three headlines on the front page, right of it. 2027, governors face fierce battles to retain seats, produce successors. Oyo kidnapped, Tinubu deploys 1,000 forest guards, tactical, sends Ribadu IGP defense minister to Oyo. Terrorists want to talk to government, not family. Lamu principal's husband on page 6. So, who should they be talking to? Governor Seyi Makinde, President Tinubu, Defense Minister, DG of the DSS, IG of Police. Who exactly is government in this instant sense? I'm sure page 6 of today's issue of the Vanguard newspaper will provide some clarity if you do read up. All right. Abductions, killings, refer Nigeria to Security Council. Serap urges United Nations chief on page 9. All right. Basically, those are your headlines from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Please do read up details as we take a look at the last one for you. Happens to be the Business Day newspaper. What does it say here? Big one, new stock trading rule promises quicker cash for investors. Sounds great now, doesn't it? It's a big story, by the way, on the front page of the Business Day today. It's a Monday, so it's starting off on a very promising and exciting note. Tribunal sacks 4 directors from board of premium pension on grounds of being politically exposed. Well, that's a conflict of interest, apparently, and it doesn't fly, as they say. Let's move it further down a little for you. Bottom right, Tinubu Makinde set up special forces as terrorists turn schools, into hunting grounds. Tinubu Makinde set up special forces as terrorists turn schools into hunting grounds. Details await you on page 31. All right, bottom left, Dangote named Africa's most admired brand for 8th consecutive year. That's inspirational or very inspiring. Story is on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper today. Turns out those are all the papers we have for you. As always, we take pleasure. Yes, we do take pleasure in encouraging you to read up details of these headlines so you can stay ahead of fake news overall. But again, be reminded that Global Television as a media entity, all the team here on Global Morning does not in any way contribute to these papers, whether the headlines or the details. All we do for you is bring you the headlines exactly as published by their respective publishers. We're taking a quick break, everyone. When we return, Ogochukwu Mobuno will be here with Social Bars. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables, better than the best.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at what's on the issues making rounds on social media. All right, it is from Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde's speech causes stir on social media. Citizens are reacting to the governor's speech on the abducted children and teachers in Oyo State. And some person says it's surprising why insisting that his hands are tied and there's little he can do, he still found a way to campaign for his 2027 presidential ambition. Well, let's take a look at that video.
Today, as I stand here, some innocent school children and citizens abducted by terrorists are still in captivity. As governor of Oyo State, I carry the painful body of being called the chief security officer, yet lacking constitutional control over the security agencies needed to fully confront this threat. No governor should be placed in a situation where responsibility is placed on their shoulders, but the necessary authority is withheld. As President of Nigeria, from May 29, 2027, I work to reform our national security architecture so that states are no longer left helpless in moments of crisis. The decentralization that we need for a more effective security could be prioritized. The safety of Nigerians will not be treated as a political talking point. It will be a national duty under my watch. I believe we have the capacity.
All right, so we've heard that speech from Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. And I don't know, but, you know, somehow, everyone is just focused on 2027, especially politicians right now. They're all focused on 2027. In as much as right now the country is raging, the country is on fire, we still hear campaigns here and there. I also, you know, read yesterday that the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Remi Tinubu, said, you know, she actually funded the campaign with over 100 million naira. And I'm asking myself, why are we all just so focused? I understand how important it is to choose your leaders, but still, we have something at hand and we need to solve these issues. These are kids, they are children in the forest, less than 15 years old. Some of them are 2, and you sleep very well at night. Is this thing not disturbing you? Why are you coming out to campaign? I'm disturbed. If you are not disturbed, I am. Well, let's take some comments from social media as regards this very topic. Our first comment is coming from Uncle Emeka. Uncle Emeka says, he knows that even him cannot hunt the bandits because their powers are above his pay grades. These politicians know what's happening. All right, their power are above his pay grades. I don't get that. What do you mean by their power above his pay grades? Okay, the next one is coming from Adabara Abdul. And Abdul says, the governor is making a painful point and it's about time we stop playing politics with insecurity. Why is the federal government dragging feet with state police? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took some tough economic decisions. I expected him to include state police in the mix. No magic can help to ameliorate our insecurity challenges right now, except we fast-track state policing he tagged at the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu PBAT. Please help us implement state police now so we can start to find a solution to our recurring security issues. All right, thank you, Abdul. The last but not the least coming from Vicky on Demand. And Vicky says, as it stands, these kids are another set of Chibok girls that will never be released. It's just dawning on us, oh Lord. All right, thank you everyone who dropped their comment concerning today's topic. It's a disturbing one. For some time I felt like I was never going to take up this topic. I was never going to talk about it anymore because I went through social media. On Saturday I said I was not going to go through social media. I make sure that I did not turn on my data because I don't want to see any kind of, any form of bad news. But yesterday I had to because I wanted updates on stories happening on social media, and yes, I came across. If I opened 10 pages, I would tell you that 7 of them out of 10 were all sad news and update stories concerning one sad incident or the other. This is something that we have to, handle, swiftly. We have to be on it. Everyone, every hands needs to be on deck and not manage it as though it's something we, just play about. Well, I'm not alone this morning in the studio. I have with me Uyi Abimofwele. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. I'm sure you had a great weekend.
Yes, I did. It was a party all through the weekend. All right. It's a good morning. By the way, it's raining in some part of Nigeria, in Abuja right now, and some parts not raining. I was so happy when I saw that it rained in my area. I don't get to see rain that much. Well, let's talk about the abducted children in Oyo State. Over 42 of them, including their teachers, were abducted over 2 weeks ago on the 16th of May, and this is about 2 weeks now, and they are yet to be found. We have video clips, we have footages everywhere on social media, and the question is, what is happening to DSS? What is happening to the Air Force? Why can't they track these things? I saw a comment some days back on social media, and someone said, if it's someone insulting a top politician, they will track you and they'll find you and arrest you, persecute you. But these people release footages almost every now and then. I saw yesterday a child, a 2-year-old child, lying sick, looking all dirty, and how did they release these footages and no one is tracking these numbers, no one is tracking where this information is coming from? I think when you were reading the papers, you said something about, the president has released some forest guards into the forest of Oyo State to help. And I'm asking, just forest guards? I understand that these people have a role to play there because they're in charge of the forest, but are we just releasing forest guards? There should be other things. I also saw other things that have been put in place by the president, which I really commend, but sometimes I feel like these things are really slow. We're still handling insecurity as though it's, let me use the word more, like it's not a serious issue. What do you think about this?
All right, let's begin with what we might want to refer to for the purpose of this conversation as efforts by the federal government. Because we understand the federal government has almost an exclusive latitude in terms of the security architecture of our country. So we're seeing a presidential, or if you like, a federal government delegation visits these locations where these abductions had taken place. Amongst these persons, we're seeing the National Security Advisor, we're seeing the Inspector General of Police, the Minister of Defense, quite a number of them, all right? Just to register the fact that the federal government is connected with the people, so to speak, and is working to ensure that it turns the tide, for want of better words. That is not a bad idea in itself. Of course, as always, we've seen the president give his assurance and reassurance about what it intends to do. And like you highlighted again, 1,000 forest guards have been deployed, some sort of, as they say, rescue team, as well, also dispersed. All of these, brilliant idea, no doubt about that. But again, as they say in the banking sector most times, nobody rewards efforts. It's results that is rewarded, not effort. So to that extent, Nigerians are only interested in how this now becomes results for them. But let's also be careful. The Nigerian Union of Teachers, especially as it has to do with Oyo State, has now said that it has declared indefinite strike. So Teachers in primary school, teachers in secondary school must now down tools and immediately embark on an industrial action. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what that means for education, especially as it touches on your state. So that's number one. Number two, there's now the call for national, or if you like, countrywide demonstration regarding insecurity in our country. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is now calling on the United Nations to say, look, activate or invoke Article 99, I think that's what it is, all right, of the UN Charter on Nigeria, which now would, if it goes in that direction, declare a state of emergency on Nigeria as a state that is insecure. You see, we have played with insecurity for too long, and nobody some 2-3 years ago would have thought we'll be discussing Oyo on the 1st of June 2026 on Global Morning. So the question is, how does the federal government measure results or outcomes? The government is already saying that, look, I don't have a handle on security architecture. I can't give directives to the IG or to the chief of army or the army chief of army staff or whatever it is. So I'm stranded, my hands are tied. But then for saying, Governor Sheyi Makinde, Your Excellency, your hands are not tied when it comes to campaigning and pursuing election. But again, is the governor not first a politician before anything else? After all, as the president not be campaigning, as the APC chairman not be campaigning, the national chairman of the APC, as the APC as a party, the ruling party not be campaigning. Therefore, as they say, source for the goose is source for the gander. So whatever standards by which you're judging Governor Sheyi Makinde, even though this has happened in his backyard, must also be extended to both the president, the federal government, and by extension, the All Progressives Congress. But in all of this, the conclusion of the matter is that the federal government and indeed the political class has failed Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Oye. So away from this topic, I'm just going to drift a bit from this topic. So I also saw a few days ago where some APC members were saying that Governor Sheyi Makinde should step down. He should retire and not push further because he has failed his state or your state. And there's so many persons on social media said you can't tell him to retire. By the way, he's not in the APC, so you can't even say that. And what about some other states that also had this issue? Some persons mentioned Benue State, some states, Borno State, and some other states, there are APC governors there, and said, why didn't you extend this same hand since you feel so much, you feel so bad, you feel empathy for these people that have been abducted, so why didn't you extend this kind of hand to them? Why Sheyi Makinde? And it feels like there's a bit of a political play right there. What do you think, Lee?
Quite frankly, the fact of the matter is all of these governors in these states should have already resigned since. But you see, that conversation is very uncomfortable and inconvenient for us around here because it's not our culture, it's not in our DNA to do that sort of thing. After all, I know the cause of the insecurity, so all my business is resigning. So we can't have that conversation. Besides, we have politicized security already, and that's the reason somebody can come out and tell you why is it that it happened in Benue where you have an APC government. You have a problem with it. That's been happening in Borno since 2009 where you have, as it stands today, and that's been the case for many years, an APC government. You didn't have a problem with it. How about other states like Adamawa and Yobe, where you have APC governments? You didn't have a problem with that. So all of a sudden, is the opposition in Oyo, they were telling us that the governor should resign. You see, again, politics and all of those elements around it. So we must move beyond the noise and ask ourselves, to what extent do we hold our leaders accountable, even in the private sector? Just because a company, KPMG, for example, in Australia, the chief executive officer in that country had to step down, and another top-ranking official had to step down. They didn't steal money. It's just that they didn't properly handle an issue around external audits. That was just the issue. That they were not ethical about some sort of whistleblower information. They didn't steal money, they didn't commit a crime, so to say. But they both voluntarily stepped down. You see, again, as I say, that's the advanced climb. So back at home, we must ask ourselves, to what extent do politicians take responsibility? This is not a matter of, I am not the cause. It's a question of, I've done the most that I can. I think I'm overwhelmed. I think I'm at my wit's end. Therefore, it's time someone else stepped in and found a way around this problem. But again, 2027 comes first. Everything else is secondary.
We thank you again once again. I wouldn't want to actually extend this for the sake of our time. Yes, we've heard from we, and also I hope that this message actually reaches the right audience. We shouldn't, play this. It shouldn't be politics. Insecurity shouldn't be played with politics. It's something that we need to take very, very seriously. And right now, it is touching everyone. Also, I saw yesterday where a former, representative of, defense was actually kidnapped with his wife. I think his wife actually escaped that in Katsina. What are we doing about this? If we don't do something big, I fear that there will be no one to come out to vote in 2027. That's just it. Well, this is the size of our conversation today on Social Buzz on Global Morning. I'll be leaving in the hands of Priscilla and we as they usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. Once again, good morning, Nigeria and viewers around the world. I am Obach Kumobno. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
At Erojim Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Erojim Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@erojim.com. Website www.erojimdesign.com. Erojim. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
All right, thank you for staying with us. The insecurity conversation would always continue, no doubt about that. But this morning, also be looking at inclusive governance, how we can get everyone on board, as they said, in more the merrier. But before we jump right into that and get things really moving in that direction, Priscilla Obasi, I gave a word of faith a while ago on the program that barring all if you like, obstacles, she will be here. Finally, she's here. Priscilla, good to see you.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe a celebrity.
If I had my way, I would say you are the weather man now because you saw the weather this morning.
The weather, indeed. I mean, it was a wonderful morning. I had prepared, just stepped out of my house and it was a shower on me. I don't know if it's a blessing. In some part of the world, they will call it a blessing. But unfortunately, I'm not from Edo State, so there was absolutely nothing I could do about it.
You see.
Yeah, so I had to just...
It matters where you come from. It does. And now, with the benefit of hindsight, you wish you were from Edo State.
I will surely, next time I'll just, give you a call. I don't know if it has to be a physical call or we have to...
I will see that as exploitation. Because the same favor you want to ask for is one that you're always been lambasted.
Not at all. Right. Everybody has their place.
No, if you are remorseful, we can reconsider you.
It's good to be here. Good morning,
right.
Good morning to our beautiful viewers. Thank you for always tuning in to watch Global Morning.
Of course. All right. So, like we just hinted a while ago, we'll be looking at issues around inclusive governance, how we can all join forces or join hands to ensure that everyone plays their role. Because as it stands today, there are people who still say that what we have in Nigeria in terms of the political leadership is the old guard. Therefore, we've got to bring in new energy, new thinking, new ideas. But that appears to be a very long process, right?
Well, it's not a long process if Nigerian youths can decide to make it a reality.
Have you not made that decision already?
Well, we're not ready. I was coming out this morning and you needed to see how transporters immediately decided to hike their prices basically because of the rain.
Right.
These are private, individuals that do this for maybe to just top up money for fuel and all. But looking at a disadvantaged situation, you see the opportunity to exploit. And tomorrow you say, the federal government. So we have a lot of things to do. Nigerian youths need to, I don't know, but I feel like we have a collective role to play and it has to start from the place of responsibility, the place of empathy. Yes, we are not so empathetic. I know the economy is biting, but we should extend empathy where it's needed.
So we need to bring in emotional intelligence ultimately. All right, we have a guest to join us on this conversation this morning. Dr. Tina King is a policy and social development advisor. She joins us virtually on the program in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Dr. King, would like to say we appreciate your patience and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to be with you both. I remember Priska, but I'm trying to figure out your name. I'm sorry.
As colleague, and together we will be engaging you on the program this morning.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again, please?
Who is Uyi? U-R-I. I'm not sure it's a name you hear every day.
Okay, nice to meet you, Mr. Uyi. Yeah, nice to meet you again. I'm Ms. Priska. Thank you for having me. And good morning to you.
I guess we should get things started from at the very bottom, all right? So my first question to you would be, what does it really mean when we talk about inclusive leadership or inclusive governance? Because for the most part, we talk about these issues from purely the standpoint of demographics. We say, well, we have the older generation. Are we not supposed to also include or integrate the youth, people living with disability, women, and so on and so forth? Help us understand what the thrust of the conversation is when we talk about inclusive leadership.
Very well. Thank you for that question. I'm sorry, were you going to say something else? Okay. Yeah, inclusive democracy, inclusive governance, it's an important key for any nation, any people, any society. In the 21st century, the democracy must prevail in every facet of our society. I believe a strong way to actually frame this is inclusive democracy for everybody counts. It's not just a certain group or a certain demography, which includes one of which you mentioned, people with disability, persons with disability, women, youth, displaced people, are all entitled to participate in democratic processes. So this upcoming election, I believe Nigerians, the diverse group of Nigerians, will fully participate in these elections. That's what makes democracy work. Yes.
Focus, for this very context and conversation. Now, beyond the rhetorics, beyond, everything we see happening, in Nigeria now on social media, we see Nigerian youth more than ever before angry about the state of the nation, wanting a change indeed. But when we talk about governance, when we talk about democracy, when we talk about leadership, and we look deeply at the mindset of Nigerian youth, the Nigerian youth we have right now. I'm talking about maybe people from maybe 18 to 40 thereabouts. These are the category of people that emphasizing on right now. Do you think we are indeed deeply rooted in the culture? Do you think we are indeed deeply rooted with the realities? Are we in touch with the realities of our country to be handed over power, to be handed over democratic, decisions, to be handed over leadership in Nigeria right now?
Yeah, thank you for that question. In everything, I believe training is key. Training is necessary in every office, in every profession. Our youth, yes. Although you will see voters' apathy among our youth, due to the lack of inclusivity, and many of them are more like my vote doesn't count, so why should I vote? Where this inclusive democracy stands out is bringing our youth, like you said, from the age of 18 through 40. I would say from the age of 18 through 35. However, whatever the age that we classify as youth in this part of our world, in Nigeria or in Africa, it's important and imperative that we bring our youth into the politics, into the political system, training them, grooming them, sensitizing them, because they are truly the future of tomorrow, and that future must begin today. We do not wait until they turn 60 and 70 before we bring them into the political arena. This is the time, the right time, even right from secondary school and senior secondary school, we start equipping and empowering and enlightening our youth about the importance of their participation in democracy, in elections. That is vital, and that's what I would love to see the older generations do. Bring these people into office, give them certain positions where they can be groomed. As you know, almost 50% of Nigerian youth are Nigerians. Let me put it that way, or let me say on the other way around. Almost 50% of Nigerians are youth in population. So, and these are tomorrow governors, tomorrow's presidents, tomorrow's leaders. So what do we do now? This is the time to start equipping and empowering them to be politically involved, democratically involved in the polity of our nation and our continent.
Political systems and the people in governance. You see, what I have noticed is it's been handed over to sons, amongst the elites, right, the political class. They hand over power to their son. We have even the current leaders right now grooming their own children to take over power, if they leave the stage. How do you see, will there ever be a point in Nigeria where the common man is being integrated into the political class, and what strategy do you think we can have around that?
Well said. And politics should not be me and my household. That's not democracy. Politics should not be me and my children. A nation comprised of a people, and a people that must work collectively. And if I, like right now, I run an organization, it's like bringing my son to take over this organization would be unfair. Bringing my grandchildren, my daughter and her children, to come and take over this organization, or grooming them alone to take over an organization or a company. Then this is a private and public entity, Kejia Youth Empowerment Initiative. And we talk about governance. We are talking about the institutions of governance. We can't turn it into my father's company. We can turn it into my private company. Everyone has a place at the table. Just like we always say about the United Nations, that Africa must have a place, a voice at the table. Similarly, we must practice that at home. Our youth must have a seat at the table. Our women must have a seat at the table. And this is something that I encourage. I encourage our policymakers and policy implementers to put this into. It's not like it's not part of our policies, or our constitution. It's a matter of implementation. To include all demographics, our youth, our women in politics. Look at us about let me switch from even youth to women. In our country, we have about less than 4% of women holding office in the politics of Nigeria. I would love to see more women participate in political discourse, in political offices, and they should be given that platform to do so. That's part of an inclusive democracy. So our youth, we should not cause these people to be discouraged. We should not cause our population to become discouraged. If not, we become a community of autocracy, and we don't want that for our country. We don't want that for Africa. We want inclusivity in all facets of politics.
Access into the space, so you can be a player. We also hear that you have the gatekeepers, and that's not a very pleasant term in a country like Nigeria. Talk to our viewers about the obstacles that those who want to go into political leadership by default have to grapple with, and what the implications are going forward, especially in light of the 2027 general election.
I'm sorry. I am going to ask you. Your mic is a little bit fuzzy compared to that of Priska. Yes, please. If you don't mind, I would like you to repeat that question because it was fuzzy. I couldn't.
Right. So saying that when it comes to participating in the electoral process, especially for those who have ambition, those who see a gap in leadership politically, and they have the tendency, they have that, if you like, that desire to want to throw their hat in the ring, in a manner of speaking. But then we often hear in Nigeria that there are political gatekeepers. That's one term that can be disturbing, especially within the context in which we use it in this country. I'd like you to talk to our viewers about that sort of reality. I mean, the sort of obstacles that you have to grapple with just to put your foot or get your foot in the door in Nigeria's political landscape, and what the implications are, especially now that we are inching closer to 2027 general election.
Well done. Thank you very much. Very clear. When we talk about gatekeepers, gatekeepers would be the current, or should I not just the current, but the elder statesmen and elder stateswomen. I believe they are the gatekeepers of our polity. But however, as we draw closer to the upcoming election, you know, this political, I would say even that our youth and women are political gatekeepers, and not just our statesmen and stateswomen. I include that demography of women and youth as gatekeepers, because if they don't vote, if they don't participate, then there is no election. These are the people that that brings the statesmen and stateswomen into offices, into the institutions. So getting them involved, getting them engaged in the polity, it encourages and it also emboldens them and give them a sort of hope that someone is hearing them, someone is seeing them, and someone approves them. You know, it is their democratic right as citizens and to be gatekeeper of our polity and engaging. You know, I cannot emphasize. I can't emphasize too much. You know, more than I have already done. That we need to engage these people. We need to include this demography. We need to empower them to hold that same office that we are holding at the moment. We need to empower them to be able to be capable to hold these offices effectively and do the job efficiently for the people of Nigeria. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but go ahead, please.
Comments. What I want to is it, you know, civil societies should be involved. Even NGOs should be involved. Like right now, our organizations is involved in sensitization, encouraging youth to go and vote. Keja Youth Empowerment Initiative. We are not endorsing any particular politician, particular institution. However, we encourage, we sensitize our youth and our women to get involved. So it is the civil societies. It is our duty to get the people out, to go and express their democratic rights by voting and voting their consciences. We've seen Nigerian youths, throw themselves in the ring or take up the courage, summon the courage to, vie for political positions within parties. And sometimes we also see some, politicians make caricature of those people. As recently we saw, the likes of the FCT minister come out to talk about a particular candidate that, he didn't actually mention, but I mean, all fingers pointed towards Aisha Yusufu and how she had put herself out there. And we also saw her respond in her own way. But she's not the only one. We've also seen the likes of Randy Peters, the social media activist. I don't know if that fits him, but that's what I want to call him. And a lot of Nigerians see these people, take up such courage? We have the youths that feel, okay, this is what they have been wanting all the while. They have been pretending, with the whole activism thing, and right now they are speaking, or they are coming out to say what they have always wanted. We see people try to make a caricature of the process, of their courage. We see bigger politicians also try to mock the courage. And sometimes I'm wondering, how do we actually fix it? If people have been told you're not doing enough, and at this point they want to try to see if they can do, they want to try to serve. Is it because we have looked at political offices as, something that comes with a lot of incentives, and when people decide to want to, throw themselves or, vie for positions, a lot of people see them from the perspective of you're coming to steal money. Is it basically because of how we have made the public offices look like, and what can we do about it?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we, that's the way, that's the lens that politics is viewed through. We have to be broad-minded. We can't close our minds to what could be or what is possible. We just cannot assume that everyone who gets into politics is coming in to enrich themselves. And politics should be beyond that. That's why we have the democratic system of voting. When a particular politician does not exemplify true democracy while they were in office, after voting them in, that's why it's important for reevaluation. After 4 years, reevaluate, what they have done, and see, if they deserve a second term. Whether in on a federal or state level or local level or world levels, it's important. Why I personally cannot endorse, or my organization, my NGO cannot endorse any particular politician. And nonetheless, as a civilian, even though I'm a founder of an NGO, as a civilian, I also have a right to vote, and using that right to vote should be, I should be well enlightened, well educated about, and well informed about whom I have chosen to vote for. And my decision for voting for whomever, my decision for voting for any office, any official capacity should not be based on a narrow assumption that this person is coming in, either for the first term or second term. They are coming in to gloat, to manipulate our resources and to enrich themselves. I would like to take a broader look at what they have done. I would like to take a broader look of their potential, and their even their personality. I have to take a comprehensive look at an individual. Yes, when you work, you eat. However, while you are eating, you don't allow the people around you or the people of the nation to starve. Everyone must eat. Everyone must be self-sufficient. Everyone must be thoroughly equipped. Those are all areas that you assess a politician or a contestant by. Not just they are eating. If they are eating, are they doing the job? If they are eating, are the youth being empowered? Are they also gaining employment? While they are eating, are the women getting the skills they need to succeed? So these are areas that we need to look at in totality. Why we in our assessment and judgment of any political group or political individual.
Receive political leadership. We're seeing a situation, especially in the lifetime of this fourth republic that kicked in 1999, when Nigerians who are based abroad, I mean the ones we usually call Nigerians in the diaspora, coming back home to also vie for elective positions. Most times they return frustrated because of the sort of system that we operate here, system that is largely devoid of transparency, accountability, credibility, and fairness. How do we turn the corner in that regard in such a way that no matter what the outcome is in an election year or even during off-cycle elections, those who participate, whether they are based here at home or they are coming from the diaspora to join the race, will trust outcomes?
Transparency is number one in any political space. You'd speak about the diaspora. Let me give you another side of me. As an individual, as a civilian who wants the best for my country, who wants the best for my community, who wants the best, because I'm going to give myself as an example here, so that I'm not dancing all over the place. I came into Nigeria and I started my NGO, and when this was in 2024, and starting my NGO as Keje started getting involved in communities like Kuje, Nasarawa. There's a community in Nasarawa. There's also a community in Boari. You know, we have empowered a lot of women and youth and children. And as I go personally to these communities, I see the disparities. I see the lack. I see the pain of the people. You know, being on ground, getting involved with these people one-on-one. So with that said, knowing that and actually feeling this pain, and I can tell you, since I started Keja Youth Empowerment Initiative, I didn't, bring donations from America, from certain people to help me. I brought in my own resources, by the grace of God, to fund this NGO because of the pain I see in the eyes of my people. And since this NGO have been formed and doing the job and empowering lives and communities, I decided, okay, I need to start sensitizing, I need to have an organization that is separate from my NGO to sensitize people to be involved in politics. So I formed a group called Democratic Union of Progress. If you Google us, you may not find us because we are not, we didn't build any website, we didn't build any social media platform. This is an organic group. It's an organic grassroots group that we, brought together. Democratic Union of Progress, we brought together community of persons, community of people who feel they need to get involved in politics. And this organization was started, actually started last 2024, thereabout, end of 2024. And between 2024 and now, we have close to about 700,000 members, Nigerians, in this group. So therefore, people like this needs to be enlightened, equipped, empowered for them to exercise their democratic rights, because that is what the Constitution calls for. So, just to answer your question, transparency, you spoke about transparency. I'm just being plain and simple and transparent to you that yes, while I may have my nonprofit organization separate from everything I do as a civilian, I can vote, I can participate in politics, and I need other Nigerians to do the same. Over to you, please.
But basically, that's all we'll be talking to you about this morning on this very topical issue. Quite very valuable insights you have shared with us this morning, and we do not take them for granted. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Tina Orode King, Policy and Social Development Advisor, for sharing these valuable thoughts with us this Monday morning. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you both. Thank you for having me.
Great. We hope to talk to you again. We're taking a break now, everyone. We'll turn to politics, especially the events of the last couple of days. Please stay with us.
The weather system currently positioned over the northeastern states is expected to continue its southward propagation by Monday morning through the north-central region and eventually towards parts of the southwest and the coastal cities, maintaining the potential for thunderstorms and rainfall along its paths. Areas likely to be affected by this storm include southern Borno, Adamawa, Taraba, Gombe, Bauchi, Kaduna, the Federal Capital Territory, Nasarawa, parts of Niger, Kogi, and Benue State, and making an exit through Oyo, Lagos, and some parts of the coastal cities. This morning weather is nothing compared to what we are expecting ahead during the afternoon into evening hours. A wide spread of thunderstorms and rains are likely across cities within the country. So Monday is going to be a wet day. Always keep an umbrella handy and be weather ready. I am Akami Samarda, and I'll see you again.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on
All right, let's get a second conversation on the road for you, everyone. I want to take a look at some of the big stories within the political landscape, especially the ones that made it such an eventful week the last couple of days. So we're looking at, from the standpoint essentially of the opposition and what that means for those events that will shape the 2027 general election. This morning we're joined by a lawyer, politician, someone who doubles as the founder, United Tribes of Nigeria, Barrister Idris Waziri. Thank you so very much, Idris, for coming to the program.
Thank you very much.
Great. I'd like us to have a charity begins at home situation this morning. Let's start with your party, the PRP, right? We don't get to hear much about your party. As some people would assume that's because perhaps your party is driven by a different kind of ideology, or your party is not mainstream, as we know. It doesn't have, as it were, national spirit. Talk to us about why that is the case.
Well, you're right in that we lack the national spirit that most of the traditional parties have, and there is the thinking generally that we are a socialist party. And
but is that the case? Are you a socialist party?
Personally, yes. The party, based on its foundation, yes. The direction it might be going in now, possibly no. Like I told you before, these are questions that I keep raising from within the party to get definition as to what is our identity today. You understand? If we are moving towards a different ideology, let the members be clear, let the leadership be clear as to what direction they are taking us into. You understand? I was very happy to see Donald Duke as the presidential candidate for the party. It gave me, honestly, it did give me some kind of hope that the party had a candidate that could be generally accepted, because Donald Duke was generally seen as a successful governor for his 2 terms. So in terms of a personality that could give the party some sort of notoriety, Donald Duke, I believe, is a good candidate for that. But yes, I do accept and concede that PRP, it used to have some prominence, mostly in the north. Right. But today, yes, because of the lack of proper participation, again, that's why I believe people should move away more from executive offices to legislative ones. If you have more people in the state houses of assembly, in the National Assembly, even if we don't have a majority, it shows that the party has some kind of grounding as opposed to where we are today.
Priscilla is going to also advance a couple of questions, but let's talk about what the leadership has. I mean, in what ways the leadership in your party has shifted? Because I know you mentioned in passing the last time you were here about how that there's no clarity as to where it's heading now, as against the foundation that had long been laid in the party by its founding fathers. When you look at that today, would you say there is need to consider a change in leadership so you can realign with where you're coming from?
I have personally advocated for all parties within the group to sheathe their swords.
Or is there any fight in your party?
Again, like I said, there is the 2 factions of, are we socialists or are we moving towards a more capitalist type of party? You know what I mean? And the silence from above is where I have a problem with. And so wherever I have had the opportunity to speak to one faction or the other, my message now is, let's have one house. Okay? Right. We are now beyond the point of trying to change a leadership or show Nigerians that there is internal wrangling within the party. Now is the time for unity. Now is the time to show that we have a clear, identified direction, and we have no internal combustion, so to speak. So my message to the internally is, let us come under Hakeem Baba Ahmed. He is the person that INEC has already accepted and placed on their portal. So at this point in time, we may think for a leadership change down the line, but for this election, let us rally behind our chairman and let us move. But again, the chairman and the leadership need to be clear. They need to speak more. You understand? Like I said, I see him on interviews and all of that, but there is there's no direction coming downwards. You have a lot of rumbling from beneath, but leadership always has to acknowledge even those that are in dissent of you, for you to actually be called a leader. You understand? So that's my position.
Okay, talking about prominent members, you mentioned Donald Duke. I also recall that Shehu Sani, former Kaduna senator, used to be a member. He once left the APC for the PRP for reasons he described as, he said at that time that the party are closer to his ideological beliefs, and that was why he went for it. And of course, it is no news that he has left the party. As a matter of fact, he won the primaries under the APC, senatorial race and all. Is the PRP a place for political calculations where politicians feel, okay, let me come here and while we wait time, and appear as maybe a saint to other Nigerians?
Use the party as a transit shelter.
Exactly, because there's this ideology, since you called it a socialist party, when bigger politicians decide to join some socialist party, there's a way they are viewed by Nigerians. Nigerians may feel, oh, they are coming to their senses. I think they're about to change. So it is a transition point for politicians. Is it a calculated move for politicians? I'm afraid I may see that also happen with, the prominent members like Donald Duke you mentioned.
I don't think that is specific to PRP. I think politicians generally use all parties, and I think we've discussed this before, as just mere vehicles. Do you understand? No politician I know actually has an ideology. Do you understand? They are just using these parties as vehicles. So, okay, for example, now I think the latest one is Pantami, right? Pantami didn't get what he wants, he has jumped ship. Do you understand? Even the OB Konkoso, you understand? They did not see favor where they are. Rather than sticking together and form a credible opposition, right? They are all jumping to one side, fragmenting themselves, you understand? So I don't think the PRP is necessarily a party that is being used by anybody to wash themselves with the public, so to speak.
As at when he moved into the PRP, talking about Shehu Sani, he actually lost his elections, and he's gone back to the APC and he has won. What does that say about the PRP?
It doesn't say anything about the PRP. It says more about the party, the individual. It doesn't say anything about the PRP. It just shows that you don't have anything. You're not to be a sort.
It couldn't be that he left because he couldn't win the elections.
That's not due to the party, right?
But he has won now. He has won his primaries. Maybe not the general elections, but he has won the primaries.
When did he leave the PRP?
Well,
where did he go from this to jump to the APC now? Where did he go from? It wasn't from the PRP, was it?
It was.
It was?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't aware of that.
No, I think he left the PRP for another party before he
Exactly.
Yeah, so
it's not, that's why I said it's not the parties. I'm not even going to be defending PRP here. It's not the fault of the parties. It's the fault of the candidates. Do you understand? What the candidates are telling the public is you stand for nothing. Do you understand? So today I don't get what I want here, I'm jumping here. If I don't get what I want, what I'm supposed to do, as I've told you now, I may not be happy with the leadership. I may not be happy with this particular candidate. But if I am here because of ideology, then I am here. I'm not going anywhere else. Then I sit down and I try and solve the problem from within. It's not for me to just keep jumping up and down, showing you that winning is all that it is all about.
Has the PRP successfully given us maybe a senator, a governor, and
Not for a while. We've had governors before. Like I said, the party
that joined after leaving maybe their different parties.
When the PRP was formed, it was formed on the ideology of socialism, and the governors, Aminu Kano and Abubakar Rimi and the rest of them, they all won based on that ideology. That's why I said that the party has lost its way, so to speak, and since then has kind of lost prominence in the forefront of the ruling parties or the traditional parties, and so in terms of being a viable vehicle for you to go and jump into, then it's not as promising as the rest of them.
So what are preparations for 2027, especially with the whole, especially how tense the political atmosphere is right now in Nigeria? What are the chances of the PRP, say in the presidential race, the gubernatorial race, and even the senatorial race?
I think, like I said earlier, Donald Duke presents for me a very good putting your best foot forward, right? If I looked at the presidential candidates that were fielding themselves within the PRP, when I saw Donald Duke, like I said, finally we have somebody that can, at least have some sort of visibility and acceptance amongst the electorate, right? So I do believe we are putting our best foot, at least within what has been presented, our best foot forward. Now, you look at the entire field. You have a Tinubu, you have an Obi, right? Because I think they've come to the conclusion. You have an Obi, you have apparently Jonathan. I say apparently because he's been nominated, but he hasn't actually come out to accept and tell people, which again, by law, I think there's a question mark there because you're supposed to accept your nomination. So there's Jonathan, and then obviously there's Duke, and then of course Baba Tinubu himself, you know what I mean? So you actually have in 2027, probably for the first time, a very strong field of candidates coming out. Now, whether or not PRP or Donald Duke is ahead in any of those lines, that's left to be seen. I can't make any predictions at this point. It is too early, even to predict that the APC, with all 31 or 36 states in their pockets, you understand? You can't predict a victory for them because there's a lot more calculation or variables that go into an election before the announcement.
We can say something around Nigerians and their reaction. Of course, social media is a litmus test to that. I'm not saying elections are won on social media, but acceptance is, largely proven somehow on social media. So I've not seen that noise, around your candidate, Donald Duke, on social media. Does it say in any way that Nigerians are not aware, or the party has not publicized enough?
In response to that, I don't think campaigning has begun yet. You understand? So there are some parties and there are some individuals that have been perennial runners. So if an OB makes a move to NDC, it's of course going to make more splash than a Donald Duke coming out on PRP. Do you understand? That's not to say that by the time we start to campaign, by the time, let's say, someone like me starts to advocate on behalf of Donald Duke and I'm put against a Daniel Wala, for example, do you understand? There's not to say that I might not floor him on the debate or the campaigning or the presentation and promotion of our candidates. So at this point in time, nobody can deny they don't know Donald Duke. Nobody can deny they have never heard of the PRP. Do you understand? It stands to be...
That is left to our viewers to decide.
I want to ask you two questions in one, Idris. The first is to say, you and I have talked about position here on the program quite a number of times. Would you say what we have today, given this array of gentlemen who are, as it were, throwing their hearts in the ring for office of the president, all right, across different political parties, that we're not having some semblance of opposition? No, that's number one. Number two, what are your sentiments about how we do our rating here? For example, in advanced democracies, starting with the US, you see how they crunch numbers to let you know which candidate or which party is heading where, swing states, blue states, red states, and what have you, and stuff like that. We may not have the same exact elements in our own climate back at home, but what are your thoughts about our rating politically?
Well, let's start with the first question, which is the opposition. And like I said earlier on, it looks like we have a good spread of candidates
compared to 2023.
Now, is that good in terms of the opposition? The answer to that is a flat no, because we've seen how 2023 went, where the president actually got a lower turnout than what the opposition combined had. You understand? So you would want to think that the opposition, right, should have learned from that particular lesson, and egos should have been managed better, so that a united front, a united opposition, because it's, in any election, there are three things that are important. You need to have, there are three things to consider: the incumbents, administration, and their successes or failures, right? The credibility of the opposition, and then the voter education. Okay. Now, in terms of the voter credibility, right now, we've said it. All these names that we mentioned, they're all credible names in one way or the other. The question is, can they amount to a viable opposition that can remove a sitting administration? In 2015, all of them came under the umbrella of APC. So there was a united opposition, and it defeated the current administration. Right? Today, you have Kwankwaso and Obi with their respective movements, right? And you now question, can Obi win votes across the north, or are his votes just restricted to the southeast? Kwankwaso, are his votes, does he have any votes outside of Kano? Yes, you have a movement, but is that movement outside of Kano at all? You know what I mean? So when you combine the Kwankwaso and obedience movements, are they enough to challenge the incumbent on its own? Then you have an Atiku. Atiku consistently does have a large block of voters and everything, but again, all you're doing is spreading yourselves too thin to actually make the difference. So in a country of, let's say, 220 million people, you could possibly have a president being elected with less than 10 million votes. You understand? That isn't an indication of you winning winning an election. That actually is an indictment that the people have lost so much faith in the system that they just can't be bothered. Do you understand? INEC, I think, INEC says 93 million registered voters. In 2020, by 2023, they said about, I think, 87 million had collected their PVC votes, but only 26 million voted.
Again, that points to apathy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just shows you that it's you know how you pass a mob action on the street. You just dress to one side and try and find your way. That is what Nigerians, as an analogy, see the electoral process as some sort of murky thing that they just don't even want to get themselves involved in. Whether it's the danger, the insecurity that comes along with it, whether it's the lack of faith in the system, whether they think their votes would actually not count. Either which way, it shows that there are more Nigerians that say, I beg, make una do this your thing finish, do you understand, than actually want to participate. So therein lies what they are. Those are the numbers that we should be looking at actually. So the voter apathy as against those that participate.
Okay, so I'll ask you this as a lawyer. It's a good thing that we have a barrister in our midst. And you've spoken you've spoken about, the opposition right now. Let's not forget the fact that virtually all opposition, maybe not all, but a major part of the opposition, I'm talking about the political parties, from the ADC to the PDP, and maybe Labour Party, I don't even know where they are right now, but they all have pending court cases, which means that INEC can decide, or the court can decide to say, let's not forget that both factions also have their presidential candidates, that are coming up to say we are the one representing one party, two factions, two different candidates representing a single party. What is likely to happen 2027? What do you think, the court will rule? What do you think INEC stance will be, given the whole drama happening in the opposition and, across parties that are having two factions? Will this ultimately mean that if a party eventually wins, that vote will be nullified, or that whole process will be nullified, basically because INEC has not given, or has not recognized, or the court has not recognized? And will it ultimately give power to the party that probably does not have a court case or double factions? I don't know. Just help us make sense of it.
Well, I can't speak to the number of cases being tried or sued for, or what their issues are. All I can say is this, and this is another sad part about our democracy, is that elections are being decided more in the courts than on the ballot paper. Do you understand? So we have more issues being appeals, whatever, tribunals and all of that. That seems to be where whether you want to call it manipulations are being made or whatever, because there's the issue of, is the judiciary as independent as it ought to be? Obviously, INEC has its own issues with the credibility with the voters. Then you have people, like I said, if it was my party, my message is, unity, everybody, as opposed to everybody, I want to challenge this, I want to challenge that. So the problem with all of what you've mentioned is that, yes, we are seeing more issues being decided in courtrooms and tribunals than where people actually vote and feel like their votes are being counted. So therein is a problem.
So you're saying that 2027 will come with lots of litigations, and elections results will be determined by the court.
Of course, standard.
If the court cases still persist.
Of course.
If an Atiku wins the election with a faction of his party, the result will be determined in the court.
No doubt. No doubt. Like I just told you earlier, even this Jonathan's lack of acceptance of his party, that of his nomination, that in itself has a legal question mark to it, because by law you are supposed to accept your nomination. His silence is already calling, because even the faction that announced him, they have Supreme Court issues, whether they are recognized or not.
It's a great, it's a blessing that you're a lawyer. There are people whose theory about this is that the Turaki-led group, I wouldn't want to say faction now, of the PDP, is preempting the Supreme Court judgments. Is that your perspective? I've been more focused on my party, to be honest with you. So the coming out of Jonathan, again, he's right now amongst the field. He's the dark horse. He's the late entry. You understand? Albeit this noise about police now coming to try and disrupt that process. That in itself just tells me it reeks of the government being afraid of a Jonathan presidency, because obviously as a former president he has some historical should I say background and grassroots. So amongst the other candidates, just the mere fact that he was a former president already, like we said earlier, Donald Duke, some people might not even know, maybe some people in the North may have never heard of Donald Duke before, but Jonathan as a former president, he has more notoriety. Do you understand? Is that what led to this use of state apparatus to go and disrupt the thing, or was it just a rogue action by the FCT on its own? Do you understand? We do not know. Do you understand? And by let me clarify, by rogue, I do not mean criminal. I mean you have gone on your own as an independent to do something that the administration did not sanction. Do you understand? So because of lack of comprehension for some people is a problem. So yeah, you wonder whether or not that. Like I said, I can't speak intelligently about what's happening in PDP because I'm not concerned. I didn't even think PDP was going to be a factor in this election, to be honest with you. Do you understand? But here we are.
So talking about the PRP, who is Donald Trump? I beg your pardon, Donald Duke pairing with as a vice president.
You see now, as a spin doctor now for my party, you see that is one way now I start promoting my candidate, because obviously Donald Trump, nobody has no idea. You see, that's how it starts. But
I mean, that you have to pay me to consult. Okay, so who is he pairing with as a vice?
Some people are guessing that it could be Dr. Dati Baba Ahmed.
That's the natural presumption, seeing as his brother.
So the party has not decided yet?
There hasn't been announced yet, no.
I want us to cycle back to 2015. The former NSA, Sambo Dasuki, had hinted at the Chatham House in London that in light of the intensity, or if you like, worsening insecurity in Nigeria at the time, there was a pretty good chance elections would be moved by a couple of weeks. And true to type, elections were moved by 6 weeks at that time. More than a decade down the line, we are not in a good place in light of insecurity again. Are we misplacing priorities by continuing to discuss politics and elections when we have insecurity across the country end to end?
Absolutely, 100. Let's even go with 1,000% on that one, because yes, the primary purpose of government is security and welfare of its people. Now, if that is taking the back seat to, I want to run for, I want to go senator, I want to run this, then we have, like I said, we're putting the cart before the horse. You understand? If for now a large portion of the majority of the large portion of the electorate don't feel safe enough to even come out to vote, you understand? Then you've lost the plot already. So that's why I said in a country of 220 million people, you can win an election with 10 million votes. That is not something you should brag about. That's something that should make you weep. You understand? Because we're now saying that the vast majority, the majority of the country have actually technically voted against you. They have voted to, they've shown their lack of, what's the word for it? They see the ingenuity of the lack of genuine purpose and sincerity of purpose in the whole system in itself. Do you understand? So, no, I'm not sure that any of these people right now can provide us with that sense of comfort that we're all looking for. And in terms of the insecurity you mentioned, that is a big problem. And economy, like we talked about it last time, right? You have metrics that people are using to sing, renewed hope is this, renewed hope is that. But the average common man is not feeling the effects of these things. You understand? If you go and meet most Nigerians right now, suffering is the watchword of the day. So how do you want to now give me World Bank or IMF numbers or expected growth, and that's not putting food on my table? Do you understand? So yes, ultimately we are putting the cart before the horse. The question myself is, do they even know that there's anything, do they even care about these issues? So when we talk about people going into elections. We're talking about what's the difference between PDP, APC, NDC, ADC. Ideologically, I can't tell between any of you. Do you understand? I cannot tell you that Atiku stands for this, Obi stands for that, or there is no distinction other than the acronyms that we change amongst you people. So when we talked about opposition earlier on, opposition isn't just opposition by name. I have to see that in your policies, in your ideology, there's something that actually distinguishes you from that which is, why are you an alternative? If you cannot define for me why you are the alternative, then what's the difference? Again, we come back to voter apathy. I can't be bothered to go out because we are all the same in our minds.
They say talk is cheap, right? So most times people wait for the action, and some people are not given the opportunity to act except they win elections. So they keep using their words to, express themselves and show what they can offer. But it goes beyond that. I would want to talk about, the possible reactions, maybe to envisage what the reactions could be. You have said our leaders do not care. They still go about their activities, political activities. But on the other hand, there are Nigerians just watching. Some of them are already having a premonition of what to do if it gets worse. Some people say, okay, we would vote. We would put our last energy to see that this actually gives us the result we want. And if it doesn't give us the result we want, there are people that are already planning their reactions. But from your own end, what do you see as the possible outcome of the 2027 election, especially from the perspective of the ordinary Nigerians?
Again, I think we've touched this already. It's a very bleak outlook. You understand? It shows that, for example, why am I not even contesting anymore? Right? A good politician should lead the room, okay? And amongst that spread of 90-something million voters, right? My personal target audience was thereabouts the 60 million that are sitting on the sidelines, right? Now, over the course of the years, whatever, the months leading up to where we are now, I've read the room to find that I'm not, the people that I'm speaking to, that I'm trying to speak to, aren't going to come out and vote, right? A tweet is not a vote, right? A hashtag is not a ballot box, you understand? So where I'm talking to people that are not going to come and participate, then what's the point in even going in there? Let me, again, be a party member and help my party and whoever it is that is running, or let my voice be heard in terms of, look, how do we build ourselves from the kind of party that you said is inconsequential today to by 2031, we are actually a party of note. So actually, like I said, that has been my message internally. Let us focus on legislative seats so that by 2031, more people are aware of who the PRP are. Do you understand? But in terms of the outlook of 2027, like I said earlier, you have the ruling party controlling 31 or 36 states. Now, do they have internally, are they showing that kind of unity and whatever? That's left to question, because we have several states that are claiming, they are in position of candidates and, all these consensus candidates. Even my state in Yobe, we had a senator who, by all accounts, has been fantastic for his zone, and you have a former Senate president, all of whom were leading up to try and make a run for governor in Yobe State. Dying minute, the current governor just imposes a candidate, someone that right now, if you put a gun to my head, I can't even tell you his name. Do you understand? So this has been happening in a lot of APC states. So we now, from the opposition, we would like to point to our people and say, and see, they cannot even run credible elections internally. How do you expect them to run a national election and give us democratically appointed or elected leaderships? Because everything seems to be forced down there at people's throats. So you might think you control a governor, but if his ward chairman has been aggrieved, then do you really have control? So just as people are defecting into APC in mass, there might be a mass defection out as well, because again, we've already talked about it earlier, people aren't in parties because of what that party stands for. People are there for what they personally can gain. So if dying minute, it seems as though there doesn't seem to be that internal cohesion, you might be surprised that a lot of people would jump to, let's say, an NDC, and all of a sudden the balance now shifts. You understand? So it's a very delicate line. It's a fine line to walk, and so far, as controlling as the APC may seem, the internal wranglings, that's a lot for the president to try and put under control.
Yes, sir, the president has a full plate now, especially when you add the layer of insecurity in the country to that. This is where we draw the curtains on this conversation. We'd like to especially appreciate our guest this morning, Idris Waziri, who is a lawyer, founder of United Trust of Nigeria, also a member of the PRP. Again, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is why we're leaving the conversation, everyone, this morning. As always, remember that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I'm Uyi Agmofegbe.
And I am Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a beautiful day ahead. Bye.